pull up my data for that one because I was a scrub and decided to put it all on separate pages. So the Bossii is it was around the same time, I believe, of Lucy. Let me look this up. No, I would be wrong. She was after Lucy. Slightly less. Anyways, it's a creature found generally, guess where? African tip. We don't see them moving out of that. As I'm looking at this, they were considered big boys. Wow. When you look at the skull, you see the general smile. I could call them the smiling men, mainly because they're smiling. It looks like it. They have this cranial mohawk that allows muscles to attach to it, which helps with these big jaws for chewing. So we can interpret that they have root capabilities, root mandibles for eating roots, twigs, leaves. These probably, if I could make a rough estimation, wouldn't be living in the savannah as much as they would be living in a land where be a little more trees. You can tell by the shape of the teeth they are mainly herbivores. As I mentioned, with like Lucy and the Africanos, generally they could probably have eaten bugs for meat and been using sticks and stuff for eating bugs. But I don't see them doing that, mainly because of the way their cranial capacity is not that much larger. And their teeth are duller, and they wouldn't particularly enjoy the bugs. They might enjoy the sticks that come with the bugs more than they would the actual bugs. And then we move on to the great Robustus, which is also part of the Palanthropus family. They're a little ridiculous. So I want to get this straight. It could be possible that they are apes or monkeys still in this stage, mainly because their bonal structure still means that they're not in the trees as much. They are walking on two legs. They don't particularly enjoy it. I think it would be uncomfortable. From what I'm looking at with some of my sketch drawings of awesomeness, I'll try and put some pictures up of their skeleton frame. You can see the displays aren't actually like made for the bipedal walking that we're used to, that we take advantage of. From what I'm looking at, I'm still saying probably ancient gorillas. Now, we're insulting everyone for saying this, but if you look at it, it looks like a gorilla. And that is an observation that I'm going to make, is that this family probably evolved from gorillas, or something remotely close to gorillas, to the point where they specialized in only eating a certain thing. And their teeth is definitely like a gorilla. So I'm sorry, Mr. Boziai. I still say you're a gorilla. An ancient gorilla, along with Robustus. You both were part of the same family. You're both found in generally the same areas. I just don't see you. You have intelligence, not words, not word of mouth. It's a different kind of intelligence. It's intelligence mean to survival. Generally meant for living. When we move to Robustus, you can definitely see the pronounced jaw in some of the skulls, where it again, I see more ape than I do human. I mean, their brain size might have increased, but gorillas that we see in modern day today have large brains. They just don't know how to eat. They don't eat protein, so they don't use their brains as much as effectively as we do. I see bipedal walking again. I find it really, really difficult. I can't emphasize this enough of the difficulty I have in declaring that these things were bipedal. Yeah, they probably walked on 2 feet, but you don't generally notice any, like, you can see from the leg bones that and everything else. Yeah, they could have walked on 2 feet. Yeah, they probably could do it with efficiency, but it wasn't. It was uncomfortable, and they'd probably prefer to be on all fours, still with their hands on the ground, hands doing something else other than moving back and forth to create a working ability to, instead of wallowing everywhere you go, imagine just shuffling everywhere. So yeah, I really don't see much of a difference between the Palanthropus species and gorillas. It's really hard. It's really hard for me to say that they could possibly, hominids could have possibly, they could have come from them. It would explain why they disappeared off the earth. Literally, the Palanthropus species disappeared. We can't find any trace. We can't find anything else of any other evolutionary stage that they could have had. They just the Palanthropus species just, when it came to Robustus, after Robustus, they died, and there wasn't anything really left that we could possibly, and I'm stressing this, possibly connect them to the hominid line. If they did come from a similar ancestor, you're gonna have to show me more. I don't see it. I'm still seeing gorilla. That's what happened. They became so specialized in eating roots and leaves that they only were isolated to jungle areas, and eventually those jungle areas did disappear. So they moved gradually into the center of the continent of Africa, where you do find gorillas. You do find species of gorilla, like ape species, that have these similar facial features. Now, I understand that sometimes, and I do stress this, sometimes we're looking for the missing link. And that missing link, sometimes we just focus on so much we might miss something important. I'm sorry, I don't see it. I understand the resemblance of human-like qualities of walking on bipedally. It's uncomfortable for them to do it along with Afarensis and Africanus. It'd be difficult for them to do it, but you see a change in the two species where you have Afarensis and Africanus being able to, their bodies slowly adapt. Like from Afarensis, you can see the direct change of the skeleton structure. You can see the bones slowly being pushed more inward, and then we have the Africanus species that comes in, and they're like the after Afarensis, and they come in and they get slimmer and they get more walkability, and it's probably because they were forced into these climates, whereas the Bosei and Robustus, they with their brainal capacity and everything, they just moved with the food. They probably went south, they probably kept eating leaves, kept eating roots, and they eventually lost their ability to walk on two legs because they probably found a sweet spot, as I would like to call it, like a spot where they could live, a spot that they didn't have to move. So they lost their ability to walk through doing that. And that's stretching it. But now, because Isaiah wanted to make this joke